normal looks like another day inside the house or another day out getting groceries, whatever. So anyway, folks, I'm gonna give you like a little bit of heads up of what this video is. We did do this a little last week, but I'm gonna explain because it is fairly new. We're trying something a little new here on the Apptrepreneur, where I just have like a lot of different topics I want to talk about, and I've decided to kind of experiment a little with doing it live, like multiple topics live, and then kind of doing it podcast style, really. And here's the thing. I kind of did like a test run last week to see if it would work. And so far, the response has been mixed in some ways. The numbers for the channel have not been very kind to this format. They really haven't. Oh, hey, Chris, I haven't seen you in a while. However, the viewer response has been overwhelmingly positive for this format. So, right now we're kind of stuck in the numbers aren't great, but the response is really positive. So, we're gonna give it another shot. We're gonna try it for a few more days, see if this works. We might go back to the old way. Who knows? I mean, right now is the time for experimenting since we're all indoors and all that jazz. But what this is basically we are going to be doing several topics. We're going to be doing it live. And at the end of the video, we will answer a few questions you might have. If you want to ensure that your question gets answered, you can drop $1 super chat if you want. If not, we'll do a quick little scan through to see what questions are being asked. Otherwise, there's not going to be a whole lot of interaction during the show itself. It's it's just, like I said, this is what we're kind of experimenting with right now. A lot of people seem to really like getting multiple news stories in one video. But then, like I said, the algorithm is, the average watch time is like 5 minutes because people don't really want to watch 30 minutes. So, like I said, we're going to experiment a little bit more with it. But I will open by saying something. This is just like a little general comment. I did a video yesterday, and obviously it was a little joke video. It was a joke video where it's like, I've decided I'm going to church on Sunday, and going to church on Sunday meant doing a Zoom conference with my church. It was like a total haha joke. Interestingly, lost about 50 subscribers as a result of that video because a lot of people read the title and thumbed it down and left a negative comment before they actually watched it. And I'm just going to say one little thing. Even though I halfway expected that to happen, I'm just going to say right now, you would think after the April Fool's Day video, people would really learn to actually watch the videos that I upload before they comment on them to find out what's actually going on. That's all I'm going to say. It's interesting how reactionary people get before they even know what it is they're reacting to. But hey, I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's more funny than anything. But with that said, let's start with the news topics. And the first news topic we're going to talk about is that San Francisco is capping the commission delivery companies can take after some restaurants are accusing companies like DoorDash and UberEATS for gouging them. Now, what do they mean by this? Well, the way that DoorDash and UberEATS make their money, it's really quite genius. They will buy something from you from like a restaurant or a store. However, you're not paying the sticker price that the store is charging. They're going to charge a little bit more for the convenience of picking that item up for you. So if you have for example, let's say you have a bottle of water. This thing costs 99 cents at the store. And the Alexa over there is... Wow. See, I hate that thing. I hate that thing. Isn't it fun to do this live? I can't edit it out now. But anyway, this bottle of water costs $1 at the grocery store, and DoorDash or Uber Eats will charge you $1.25 for it. So that's how they do it. So you can see how like when they do like a huge order, they make a lot of money. And obviously these delivery services are growing in popularity. People don't mind paying the surcharge. But now, apparently, DoorDash and Uber Eats are starting to price gouge because, of course, they're going to. They're taking advantage of the whole situation. And San Francisco and one of the few things I can give them credit for, is actually saying no. So here's the article. It's from Business Insider. And San Francisco is limiting how much third-party delivery platforms can charge local restaurants during this current pandemic. The Office of Mayor London Breed announced Friday that third-party delivery companies, which includes the likes of DoorDash, UberEATS, and Grubhub, can charge restaurants no more than 15% commission. The temporary cap will be enforced throughout the state of emergency issued on February 25th or until restaurants can resume dine-in customers. The effort is to help support local businesses as the pandemic and government orders to close non-essential business keep would-be patrons inside their house. Quote, restaurants across San Francisco are struggling to stay open. In these tough financial circumstances, every dollar counts and can make the difference between a restaurant staying open or shuttering. It can make the difference between staying afloat or needing to lay off staff, Breed said in a press release. Third-party delivery platforms usually charge restaurants anywhere between 20 to 30% per order for commission. As the world has almost entirely shut down amid the virus pandemic, delivery companies have heralded themselves as the saving grace for restaurants struggling to adapt as deliveries become their primary form of business. And in all fairness, companies like Postmates and UberEats have in fact even issued a zero delivery charge on local businesses to help the local businesses. So for example, if you buy a pizza from Papa John's, who I'm an investor in for full disclosure, you'll get charged a delivery fee on top of everything else you normally would. But if I buy from local pizzeria, What a Lot of Pizza, who I am not invested in but greatly enjoy their pizza, I want to add, you will not pay that delivery fee. So they are doing things like that to help out. However, this 20 to 30% order commission was definitely outrageous. So here's where the article continues. Because the high commission fees have made it difficult for small businesses to turn a profit and maintain healthy margin, and that's been an issue long before the pandemic took hold. Local business owners, such as San Francisco restaurant owner Simolio Lua, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, have spoken about how they believe these platforms are contributing to their plight amid plummeting business. Quote, the small business like mine over there in the corner, they're not thinking about how the fees impact my kind of business. They don't care about us. No, and in fact, they probably see it as an opportunity. Like, well, guess what? Your business is closed. People want it delivered. You want to be on our delivery platform, you will pay through the nose. It's very gangster style. So I'm actually okay with San Francisco stepping in and saying, you can't do this during this time. Now, after this time is over, let them go back to charging the 20-30% commission if they want, and you can see the delivery services drop off. But anyway, San Francisco-based Postmates announced on March 16th that it was also temporarily waiving commission fees for businesses in the San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and Detroit. But that policy affects new partners, not companies already on the app. So, yeah, that's interesting. So what they're doing right there is they're basically using this as like an incentive to get people onto their platform. And then once they're on the platform and once this thing is over, then they'll charge them whatever they want. So yeah, that shows that Postmates' heart is not in the right place, because they'd be doing this for all the small businesses. Of course, people might argue, well, Postmates and UberEATS need to make money too. It's like, yeah, but this is total exploitation. So on Thursday, DoorDash announced it was cutting commissions in half for its 150,000 local restaurants, partners across the U.S., Canada, and Australia's. So. Yeah, that's a positive that they're at least doing that. Caviar, my poor caviar. I loved delivering for you. So anyway, yeah, this probably should not have been surprising. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it took so long for us to even realize this was happening. But I knew that Uber would be taking advantage of this pandemic. I knew DoorDash would be. I knew Postmates would be. I knew they all would be, because they've got them in the palm of their hands right now. People aren't going out to eat; they're getting stuff delivered now. So if you're not on one of these delivery platforms, you are in a sense missing out on a huge market. But the fees are so astronomically high. These small businesses, they might not be able to actually benefit from it. So that's a tough situation to be in. It really is. So I'm okay with San Francisco doing this temporarily, just temporarily. Afterwards, I believe you got to let the free market decide once again. But if the free market is not free and it's shackled and it's controlled, then yes, I'm kind of okay with this for a time being. But again, I do want America to reopen for business again. But that's not even the biggest problem, because here's the thing. Well, this is affecting like small businesses. Most of the people here who are watching are not a small business owner. They are a driver. And in fact, their big thing that they're doing right now is InstaCart. Primarily, InstaCart is blowing up like crazy. However, just because they're getting bigger, just because they're blowing up, just because they're gaining in popularity does not mean things are all well and good in InstaCart world. In fact, there are two major problems with Instacart. The first one, and the most pressing one, is that Instacart workers are having a tip bait and switch. Now, what is the tip bait and switch? Well, this is actually pretty easy to explain. I don't even need to read the article to explain this one, although we'll look at the article a little bit at one point. And that is, Instacart has it so that you can like tip people up front for their services. Like you can up front give them a tip, and the drivers see what tip they will be making. Now, they do this because it's like, hey, they want the drivers to be taken care of. And hey, if a driver sees that there is like a big tip in there, they will be more inclined to pick up the delivery and actually do the job. However, there's a catch, and it's a huge catch. The tip can be revoked after the fact. Now, it kind of makes sense why this would happen. I mean, I know no Instacart delivery worker wants to hear this. They want me to be completely against this, but here's why the tip can be changed after delivery. You might get the wrong type of Doritos. You might get the wrong size of milk. You might pick up the Oreo cookies that are not gluten-free. You might be 3 hours late. There's a lot of reasons where like, hey, you're tipping for good service and for a prompt. They might not be communicating with you when things are out of stock. Like if something out of stock, the driver should be like saying, hey, this is out of stock. Do you want me to get something else? Some people might not do it. They might just skip it altogether. Who knows? There's a lot of reasons why the service might not be adequate, and thus you would want to change your tip to reflect that. So I understand that. Here's the problem. And I've had like a lot of Instacart drivers emailing me, so I know this is what's going on. Instacart drivers are seeing insane tip amounts up front. Like we're talking about $50 tips. And of course, when you see a $50 tip, you're going to accept that order. You're going to cash out, and you're putting that in an envelope. And when Vegas reopens, baby, you're going to be putting money on craps and poker and all that jazz. You're going to be gambling in Vegas whenever they reopen. And then they pick up the food, they deliver it, and then later that night they find out the tip was reduced to zero. Like, apparently they were just completely unhappy with your service. You got everything correctly, but you got no money. And that means that essentially this perfectly legitimate system that exists because, hey, you might get crummy service and thus you might want to readjust your tip a little bit. Guess what? It is now being used as a bait and switch. People will buy something, they'll tempt you with like a huge tipperuno, and then once you deliver it, they'll take it away because they never intended to give it to you in the first place. So this is a story from The Verge. Instacart workers are being wooed by orders with large tips only to find them drop to zero after delivery has been made, according to a new report by CNN. Instacart lets users set their own custom tip with each shopping request, but also allows them to change it for up to 3 days after an order is complete to adjust for experience. Workers, however, claim that some users have been abusing this feature, baiting them with big tips to get their shopping requests completed sooner amid the pandemic rush, only to find the tips slashed afterward without much feedback. One Instacart worker said the tip was dropped from $55 to zero, despite finding everything the customer needed. Another worker claimed their tip changed to $0 since they could not find toilet paper in stock, which the customer described in the feedback reported as unethical. What? That's not unethical. That, like, toilet paper is not in stock. I mean, I don't know why it's not in stock. Really, I mean, I've said it many times on my live streams. Like, I don't understand why toilet paper became such a huge shortage thing. There's no shortage of toilet paper. The production is not being affected in any way, but people just hoard toilet paper. So, anyway, one One driver says, I don't pretend to be a hero like a nurse in a hospital, but I literally am exposing myself to this virus, and when I return home, exposing my own family to the possibility of transmitting this disease. When you know that it's somebody who's just doing it to game the system and to get their order when they want it, it's really frustrating. While there have been cases of Instacart users abusing the tip adjustment feature, the company says that it is uncommon and that in March, workers saw a 30% increase in earnings from customers to tips. Interestingly, Instacart is usually much better at proactively responding to complaints. I actually half expect them to say, like, we were temporarily going to remove this feature. Like, here's the thing. I think the good compromise right now is this. You don't tip until after the service. And that's gonna be frustrating but that has like another downside because again, when people see like a large order and they don't know if they're going to get anything out of it, they're unlikely to accept the order. They really are. So again, I understand why the tip option is there. Because yeah, you want to incentivize them to pick up that large order. However, if they pick it up and then you adjust it to 0, then that's a bait and switch. So I'm trying to think. Maybe the solution in this case is this: they can choose either or. They can choose what's more important, and it could be an over. Okay, to the Instacart customer, you can choose one or two things. You can choose to tip up front, but please know that when you tip up front, that tip will not be refunded if you are not happy with the order. That's just the risk you're going to have to take. However, it will encourage the drivers to maybe prioritize you knowing that you're getting a tip. And here's the thing. If you don't want to take that risk, you can tip after the fact, but please know your order might not be prioritized by drivers if they are not guaranteed to get something in return for that. I think that has to be maybe that's what you need to do. Like, just, hey, we're going to give you a choice on this one. Do you want to tip before and not have the tip reimbursed if you're not completely happy? Or do you want to tip after, but then you take the risk that your order might not be prioritized in the list of orders because your order is uncertain to yield a reward. So, Instacart says shoppers who experience tip baiting can report instances in-app, though some workers say this relies too much on there and that the company should make a 10% minimum tip mandatory on all orders during the pandemic. You know, that would actually be okay. I'd actually bump it to 15 personally, but yeah, make a certain percentage of the tip mandatory. That would be a decent compromise. Or again, I kind of like my suggestion. You do either tip before or after, but I don't know. To comment in the chat, the comments. I'm kind of curious what you think of that. It's complicated, but now let's do this third and final story, and it's still involving Instacart, and that's because while this crisis has been a boom for Instacart, for the workers, it's not much. It's really not that good, and for a variety of reasons, one of which we just talked about. But here's one right here. Diana W. did her last job for Instacart on March 20, before the virus outbreak. Diana could easily avoid doing the labor-intensive orders that required her to shop for and deliver groceries to 2 or 3 customers at a time, but on that day, with few other choices, she accepted a triple order that promised a take-home pay of $48. Only 17 of that would be from Instacart, the rest in tips. So here's the thing. Obviously, but here's where the frustrating thing. This is not like a tip scamming thing because it describes like all the things that she was doing for the order. But 3 hours of shopping later, she loaded 20 bags of groceries into her car and drove to the first customer's home. On her way there, she got a notification. Customer number 2, peeved at the long wait and unavailable items, had canceled the order. In the end, after about 5 hours of shopping and driving, Diana received $29.60, including tips, because some of the grocery from the canceled order. It's almost like you're volunteering your time, she said. So, yeah, that's one of the problems. One of the problems for drivers are the compensation model. A large part of shoppers' pay is a 60 cents per mile fee from the distance driven between the store and the customer's home. That component, which often makes up more than half of the pre-tip total, doesn't reflect the size of the order, the time spent shopping, both of which have gone up dramatically since the arrival of the pandemic. Basically, you get an order, and it normally wouldn't take you that long to shop for the order, but because of everything that's going on, it's taking a heck of a lot longer, but there's no compensation to take that into consideration. If an order includes unusually heavy items, shoppers receive about $10 in extra pay, but that only applies to the first 50 pounds. Customers are able to cancel orders up until delivery. While Instacart still pays workers for those orders, they lose out on the tip, which often represents the majority of the total. And in some cases, they have to take the food back, which I don't know how that's working because a lot of stores are not accepting takes back. So obviously, Instacart will brag about how they've introduced more than 15 new product features and new health guidelines. But, it's still a problem. And here's the thing that, like, for example, here's, on the same day, Instacart offered the same shopper a total of $11.94 for a single order of 38 items requiring 3.9 miles of driving. Instacart's contribution, $7.22. For buying nearly twice as many items and driving nearly 3 times as far, the company offered less than $6 extra out of its pocket. And this pattern holds in receipts the Times reviewed from around the country. So basically, what's going on right now is you're getting a lot more orders, you're spending a lot more time, but your pay has not dramatically increased at all. You're getting pennies on the dollar. And so it's definitely one of those things where it's like the more you do, the more you lose. Unless, of course, the shoppers tip you for their time. However, shoppers are becoming increasingly impatient with how long it's taking, with things that are sold out. And then, of course, you have those others who, frankly, probably had no intention of tipping you at all. They waved a huge tip in front of you, and then they canceled it. So it goes on to talk about the strike more, but I think it's fascinating how during this whole thing, Instacart has basically become the center of controversy. Like, we kind of stopped talking about Uber and Lyft for a little while and started focusing more on Amazon and Instacart because right now they're the ones who are taking advantage of employees, of their drivers. I know some of us are independent contractors in some of these cases. That's not the point. The point is the companies are not letting the crisis go to waste. They just absolutely are not. And so as a result, employees and drivers are getting screwed. All that jazz. It's frustrating. We're going to talk about it more in the coming weeks. And for the time being, that is where we are actually going to end the story. So let me look through, see if okay, let's see if there's any questions here real quick. Let's see here. I don't see any questions. So anyway, okay, that's it. We are going to end the video. So anyway, thank you all for taking some time with me to watch this video. I really appreciate it. I'd like to know what your thoughts on any of these situations are, and you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.